Hi guys, thanks for joining me today. I'm Marilyn, and if you're new here, thanks for joining me on Making with Marilyn. If you're returning, thanks so much for coming back. Now, I recently ordered some pillow covers off of Amazon. They're Sublimation pillow covers. They showed up today, so I'm excited to try one of these out. In addition to the Sublimation pillow cover, I'm going to use some Koala brand Sublimation paper. This is 13 inches wide by 19 inches tall. I'm going to print an image that I found on Creative Fabrica. I did add some words to it, but I'm going to print that out on my Epson EcoTank 15,000 printer. Now that wasn't meant to be a sublimation printer, but when I bought it, I put Hippo sublimation ink into it instead of the ink that came with it. I also have a couple of pieces of butcher paper. I have some heat resistant tape, and I have a lint roller. What I want to do next is just jump on the computer, show you the original image, show you what I did to it, and then print it out. We're only going to be on the computer for just a minute. I want to show you my design. I found it in Creative Fabrica. Now, if you're not familiar with that, I have a link to a free trial membership in the video description below, but this is something that I use all the time. It really took the stress out of designing. And you can see it's very economical. Now let's look to see what I did with this design. I brought it in, I made the bunny a little shorter, and then I added some wording to it. Now for most sublimation projects, you do mirror your image, and when you're putting sublimation on a pillow, you are going to do that. With it selected, I'll go to Object and flip horizontal. On my Mac, I'm going to hit Command P for print, and I'm using the Epson EcoTank 15,000 series printer. I always like to go up to Page Setup and make sure it's on one-sided. I go to Color and make sure it's going to print in color, and then I go to Advanced and I make sure the quality is high. At this time, we're ready to print. Here's the design, and isn't that cute? I think that's adorable. Now, sublimation ink prints out a little bit muted, so it should be more vibrant once we press it onto the pillowcase. One thing that I like to do when I'm sublimating on fabric, I like to go around the image and I like to rip the paper. You can have hidden ink on the edges, and also the way I go around the paper, it makes it where the paper is thinner on the edges instead of just cutting it. That way you're not going to get some harsh line in the pillowcase. All I do is very carefully, so I don't rip some of the ink off, I go around, I rip it like this, and once I make it all the way around, I'm going to hold this up so you can kind of see what that does. But for now, I'm just going to go ahead and fast forward this and rip all the way around. Now that I've done that, let me lift it up and show you what I was talking about. So you can see the paper is in layers, and if you rip it like that, the bottom layer is usually wider out, or you see more of the bottom layer than you do the top layer. So it kind of feathers the paper down. It gets thinner more slowly than if you just cut around it and have a harsh line. That's my first step. Now let's go ahead and open up this pillowcase and see what it's like. It actually feels good. Now these were $15 and something for 8. There was a 10% coupon, so I ended up getting the 8 for something like $13.59, something like that. I wouldn't expect these to be super high quality, but I think that for specialty pillows you're not leaving out all the time, I think they're going to be great. They feel nice. Let's go ahead and open the zipper. It has this hidden zipper. And I want to check on the inside. Now, I do see some stray strings. So I'm going to trim those back so they don't get caught in the zipper on accident. There's not too many of them, but I do see some stray strings that I want to get off. All right, let's kind of look at the inside, make sure there's nothing large in there that needs cut back. I'm just afraid if you don't trim these down, they could get stuck in that zipper. All right, that looks pretty good. Now the inside of the pillowcase is kind of like a satin, so it's shiny, but the outside is not. It's more of a matte finish, and I like that. I don't like the pillow coverings that are satiny or shiny on the outside. So far I'm liking this. I'm going to go ahead and close this up, and then I'm going to lay this on my heat press and I'm going to preheat it. That's going to do a couple of things. First of all, it's going to smooth it out some, and then second of all, it's going to remove any moisture that might be in there, because moisture and sublimation ink do not go well together. When you are pressing things like this on a high temperature, if you have some little fibers on it that aren't meant to be there, those fibers can turn kind of a bluish color. And so I want to go ahead and let roll both sides of this before I preheat it, because I'm going to preheat it at the same temperature that I'll press it at. Now I'm only going to preheat it for about 10 to 15 seconds, but I will preheat it at 385 degrees. And I saw some little fuzzy things there that could have caused a problem. So just take your time and do the prep work that you need to do to get the best product possible. I do want to show you that when I have this on the heat press, I am not going to have the zipper to where it gets closed inside the heat press. So if this is the edge of my heat press, whether it's the front edge or a side edge, I'm going to make it where that zipper is laying off of that edge. So it'll be like this. Also, this is about 17 or slightly more than 17 inches by 17 inches. I think maybe 17.7 by 17.7. The heat press I'm going to use is 15 by 15. So I'll actually have all the sides off the edge of the heat press. That way I don't have these seams in there. All right, let me go ahead and preheat this and I'll be right back and show it to you. Now I see a little bit I saw some more fibers on there, so I wanted to clean those off. And then I also want to put this inside. What this is going to do is it's going to protect the back side of the pillow covering so that you don't have the sublimation ink go through both layers and then you see remnants of it on the back. I don't know if that would happen, but I'm going to just be cautious and put this inside. And I definitely want to do that before I tape down my design, because you can see there's a little tugging and pulling, and I just feel like you want to do this before you get your design all perfect on there. Okay, now let's keep cleaning until it looks like it's all the way clean. Okay, I think that looks pretty good. Now I want it smoothed out, and then I'm going to take my image and I'm going to flip it over. And you can kind of see through the paper in order to get it centered pretty well. And I think that looks pretty good. Now one thing on this, the word Jesus is right here, and it's very straight. So I want to try to have it really straight with the bottom of the pillow, or the pillow covering. But if it's not quite straight, It's not going to be a big deal. Nobody's going to look at the pillow that closely to make sure it's perfectly straight. All right, let's move it over to the left just a little bit. And I think I'll call that good. So I'm going to take my heat-resistant tape. And a lot of people just hate the yellowish heat-resistant tape. And so today I'm using Cricut brand because it's the blue. Now some of the yellowish or brownish tapes can stain your items. I learned that the hard way. The yellow tape that I use on my tumblers all the time, it does not stain, but some people just swear by not using it on things like fabric. So we're using this today instead. Now I saw something under there. Some type of fiber, so I'm just going to cut that one off. Now 2 more pieces and we're ready to press this. Remember, I do have my second piece of butcher paper, so when I press this, I'll have this piece of butcher paper on top to protect the top platen of my heat press. Now there is a range of temperatures and times that you can press sublimation items. Today I'm going to use 385 degrees Fahrenheit and I'm going to press this for 50 seconds. Now I laid this over the heat press, then I wanted to feel all the way around it to make sure that the paper part would actually be within the 15 by 15. Let's go ahead and press it. Now we didn't really talk about the tape and why you tape it. The reason you tape it is to keep your paper from shifting as the press goes down onto it and as it's lifting. Because if that paper shifts, that ink is shifting and you can get a blurring effect. Some people call that ghosting. I've let my image sit over there for about a minute so that it cools off enough that if the paper shifts while I'm bringing it over here, it's not going to sublimate anymore because it's too cool. That way I don't get that blurring. All right, let's go ahead and take the paper out of the middle. And I don't see any ink on it, so it was a precaution. I still would do it next time just to be on the safe side. All right, I'm going to go ahead and turn that around. I'm going to sneak a peek, and it looks so cute. But I want you to see it at the same time that I do. Well, except for my sneak peek. It's really cute. Isn't that adorable? I'm very happy with this pillow cover. I hope you like it too. Super cute. All right, that is the end of the tutorial. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something new. If you're interested in the pillow coverings, I'll have them linked in the video description below. I'll also put things in there like the printer that I use, the ink that I use, the paper that I use, things like that. Thank you so much for joining me, and I hope to see you in the next video.